Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. India, US, Canada issue travel warnings for Mexico after drug kingpin El Mencho is killed, sparking a wave of violence in various parts of the country. Iran and the US to resume nuclear talks on Thursday in Geneva, despite a huge military build-up in West Asia. Amid rising U.S. Iran tensions, India issues fresh advisory urging its citizens to leave Iran by all available means. India deeply values enduring friendship with Israel, says Prime Minister Modi ahead of his upcoming Jerusalem visit. And in a proud moment for Indian cinema, Manipuri language film Boong bags the best children's and family film at the BAFTAs. Up first, news from Mexico. Mexican drug lord Nemesio Oseguera, commonly known as El Mencho, has been killed in a military raid on Sunday. Mexico's defense ministry said a shootout in the western state of Jalisco left Oseguera seriously injured, and he died during an air transfer to Mexico City. The ministry noted that U.S. authorities had provided complementary information. An ex-police officer, Oseguera, was the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. The kingpin's killing notches a major victory for Mexico's war on drug cartels that are responsible for smuggling billions of dollars in cocaine and fentanyl into the United States. So the operation set off a wave of violence in the country, with torched cars and gunmen blocking highways in more than half a dozen states. Mexican media outlets reported burning vehicles and gunmen blocking highways in more than half a dozen states across the country, particularly in the north and the west. Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro urged residents to stay home until the situation was brought under control. The U.S. Embassy advised its citizens to shelter in place amid the chaos. The military operation against Oseguera follows a pressure campaign from the administration of U.S. President Trump on Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum's government to crack down harder on drug trafficking. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico on Sunday urged U.S. citizens to take shelter in several Mexican states and reduce their movements after drug lord El Mencho was killed in a military operation. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau said Oseguera's killing was a great development for the U.S. and Mexico, as well as the rest of Latin America. Air Canada said on Sunday that it temporarily suspended operations in Jalisco's Puerto Vallarta on the Pacific coast. United Airlines and American Airlines said that they've cancelled flight operations to Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said that activities are normal in most of Mexico after drug lord El Mencho's death in a military operation. She said in a social media post on X, and I quote her, "There is absolute coordination with the governments of all states. We must remain informed and calm." So India has joined several countries in issuing an advisory for its nationals amid the violence in Mexico after the killing of the head of this drug cartel. In a social media post, Embassy of India in Mexico issued an advisory for all Indian nationals, saying that there are ongoing security operations and related road blockages and criminal activity. Indian nationals, hence, in Jalisco state, these areas include Puerto Vallarta, Chapala and Guadalajara. In Tamaulipas state, this includes areas of Reynosa and other municipalities, and areas of Michoacan, Guerrero and Nueva Leon should shelter in place until further notice. The advisory also listed actions to be taken, which includes avoiding areas around law enforcement activity, being aware of the surroundings, seeking shelter, and minimizing unnecessary movements outside one's shelter region. It further asked Indian citizens to monitor local media for updates and avoid crowds and follow the directions of local authorities, and in case of emergency, dial 911. It added that family and friends must always be advised of location and well-being of their loved ones via phone, text and social media. And for any assistance, the embassy may be contacted at the number on your screen. It's 5255 4847 7539. And let's now connect with our correspondent Meghna Dev, giving us more on the story. Meghna, with Osiguara killed in a major military operation, how significant is this moment in Mexico's long-running war against the cartels? And could it realistically weaken the organized crime networks or risk triggering further instability in the country?
Well, definitely with the killing of Osiguera, we do see that it is a big blow to the drug cartel, to the organized crime network that runs through Mexico, goes to North America as well, because obviously America, the United States for that matter, has time and again been saying that from fentanyl to methamphetamine to heroin to cocaine, there is a lot of drugs that are coming through this cartel. Obviously, Osiguera had also faced indictment in 2022, but obviously this time around he was wounded in a firefight and later died when he was being air transferred to Mexico City. Also, we get to know that a few other members of the cartel have also been killed in this firefight, besides also few being arrested. The authorities in this military action have been able to also seize weapons, rocket launchers also for that matter, which are capable of taking down aircrafts as well as also attacking these tanks and all the systems that the military has. So definitely it is a big blow to the cartel, as well as when we actually see that currently the situation is the violence has spread in multiple states. We do see that there has been advisories being issued, but we also see that social media handles, a number of them showing videos at how people are trapped in different cities, people are stranded, especially tourists for that matter, and also highways have been blocked, roads have been blocked, pharmacies, supermarkets all shut down. Or not only this, also schools have declared a holiday because of the current ongoing violence, as well as when we see that the situation is escalating in the matter that the drug cartel members have resorted to violence and are spreading it across multiple states in Mexico.
Okay, Meghna, with the Indian Embassy issuing an advisory for its citizens in Mexico, and we saw several international airlines temporarily suspending operations, how might the security situation evolve in the coming days?
Tanvi, first talking about the advisory issued by the Indian Embassy, Embassy has clearly asked its nationals, the Indian nationals, to stay in shelter places, to not move out unnecessarily, to not travel, do not undertake any unnecessary travel. Also keep others updated about their location via calls, messages or social media. Call 911 during any emergency. Also there is a help number that has been given out for people who want assistance and for any kind of emergency contact. But besides that, U.S, Canada and other countries, Australia also for that matter, has issued advisories for its nationals. Now, coming to a second question about the airlines, number of airlines have issued cancellations, number of airlines getting delayed. what we definitely, and few of them have also been diverted. What we see, this situation is even more grave at this point of time because it is the peak tourist season in the Pacific coast, and due to this, we talk about the Puerto Vallarta or other places nearby. These are all places, these resort beach places, and these places are completely full with tourists at this point of time generally. So this is one of those times that violence has actually led the tourists to be stranded there. Besides that, there is also another sporting events and other events that are going to be, now we will have to see what happens to those sporting events if the violence does not come under control. Also in June, there is the FIFA World Cup. 4 matches are to be played, but while the Mexican Football Federation has not yet given any kind of official statement on this, but this kind of violence may hamper other upcoming sporting events as well.
Okay.
So while countries are issuing advisories to their nationals, especially when we are talking about India, about 10,000 Indian nationals are living in Mexico, but most of them in Mexico City, very few of them in other states of Mexico. So, but still the advisories have been issued by different countries for their nationals. But having said that, because it is a peak tourist time, number of people remain stranded at airports across Mexico.
Thank you, Meghna Dev, for all those updates. Nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran are at a critical juncture in Geneva, characterized by high-stakes diplomacy, while both sides have reported progress on guiding principles. A massive US military build-up in the region and a 10 to 15-day ultimatum from President Donald Trump that has pushed the region to the brink of a conflict. A report.
A new round of negotiations is scheduled for Thursday, February 26th in Geneva. Oman, acting as the primary mediator, described this as a positive push to go the extra mile towards a final deal. Iran has signaled willingness to dilute its uranium stockpile in exchange for sanctions relief. However, significant gaps remain. The US demands zero enrichment inside Iran, while Tehran insists on its right to peaceful enrichment and a clear timetable for lifting sanctions. Hours before Oman's announcement, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that Tehran was ready to put in place a full monitoring mechanism to guarantee the peaceful nature of its nuclear program and ease tensions. Tehran is preparing a formal draft counter-proposal to be handed over to US envoy Steve Witkoff within days.
There is no other option but to negotiate. This is what I told to the American team a couple of days ago. Their presence at the negotiating table is with the same logic because they have tried other ways. And negotiation will only come to fruition when the rights of the Iranian people are acknowledged and respected, and we can exercise our rights. We do not want recognition of our rights. Our rights are official and exist. We want our rights to be respected.
President Trump has issued a public ultimatum stating that if a meaningful deal is not reached within roughly 10 to 15 days, he will consider limited military strikes.
Well, we're either make a deal or we're going to get a deal one way or the other. We're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them. I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
The US has significantly bolstered its presence in West Asia. The USS Gerald R. Ford and USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike groups are positioned to launch strikes deep into the Iranian territory. Dozens of F-15 strike aircraft have been deployed to Jordan, and B-2 stealth bombers are reportedly on standby. Iran has warned that any US aggression will spark a regional war. It is reportedly fortifying its military sites, testing new naval air defense systems like the Sayyad 3G, and has issued contingency succession plans in case of leadership strikes. The South Korean government has issued an urgent travel advisory, urging all its citizens in Iran to leave the country immediately. Other countries, including the United States, have also issued similar warnings, advising their citizens to leave Iran without delay. Anamika Pandey's report, DD India.
And in the latest, India asked all its citizens currently in Iran to leave the country by any available means of transport in a fresh advisory issued on Monday. The advisory comes amid looming fear of conflict in West Asia and growing tensions between Tehran and Washington. According to the Indian Embassy in Tehran, the fresh advisory was issued in view of the evolving situation in Iran and is in continuation to the similar advisory issued earlier this year on January 5th. The Indian embassy in Tehran requested all Indian nationals in Iran to keep their immigration and travel documents readily available. It also issued emergency helpline numbers for those who might need it. These numbers are on your screens: 9891 281 09115, 989 128 109 109. You're watching DD India News Hour. Still to come on the show. President Draupadi Murmu unveils the bust of first Indian Governor General of Independent India, C. Rajagopalachari, at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman explains her stance on the U.S. tariffs.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a historic visit to Israel on Wednesday. The Indian Prime Minister highlighted the strong bond between the two countries while responding to a post by Israeli counterpart of his, Benjamin Netanyahu, on social media. Prime Minister Modi wrote, and I quote him here, "I fully agree with you on the bond between India and Israel as well as the diverse nature of our bilateral relations. India deeply values the enduring friendship with Israel built on trust, innovation and a shared commitment to peace and progress. Looking forward to our discussions during my upcoming Israel visit." Unquote. So earlier on Sunday, Netanyahu had described Prime Minister Modi's visit as historic and called India and Israel ties a powerful alliance between the two global leaders. He said that India and Israel are partners in innovation, security and a shared strategic vision.
On Wednesday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will arrive. He will address the Knesset and I am sure you will be there. And we will also hold an innovation event in Jerusalem. Visit Yad Vashem together. I will also note something else, a special collaboration. We will advance cooperation in high-tech AI and quantum. I say AI and quantum because it's not the future, it's the present. And we want to be among the world's leading countries in this field.
India and Israel share a strong and steadily expanding partnership based on mutual trust and strategic cooperation. Since establishing full diplomatic relations in 1992 and elevating ties to a strategic partnership in 2017, the relationship has grown across multiple sectors. Here's a look at the relations between the two countries. India recognized Israel on September 17, 1950, and full diplomatic relations were established in 1992. The partnership was upgraded during Prime Minister Modi's historic visit to Israel in July 2017. In 2022-23, the two countries marked 30 years of diplomatic ties. Prime Minister Modi and his Israeli counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu, have held several discussions since 2023, covering bilateral cooperation, regional developments, maritime security and milestones such as the Chandrayaan-3 landing. And in June 2024, Prime Minister Netanyahu congratulated Prime Minister Modi on his third successive term. Structured dialogue mechanisms cover areas including water, agriculture, counter-terrorism and defense. Economic ties have expanded significantly. Bilateral trade, excluding defense, grew from about $200 million in 1992 to $10.77 billion in 2022-23. In fiscal year 2023-24, trade stood at $6.53 billion, with India's exports at $4.52 billion. India is Israel's second largest trading partner in Asia. Defence cooperation remains a key pillar here. Indian naval ships have made goodwill visits to Haifa, and the Indian Air Force participated in the Blue Flag exercise in Israel in 2021, underscoring growing strategic coordination. On to New Delhi, President Draupadi Murmu on Monday unveiled the bust of the first and the only Indian Governor-General of Independent India, Chakravarti Rajagopalachari, at Rashtrapati Bhavan, India's President House, marking a symbolic shift in the nation's historical narrative. The installation replaces the bust of British architect Edwin Lutyens at the Grand Open Staircase near Ashok Mandap. The President said the move is part of the ongoing efforts to shed the vestiges of a colonial mindset and honour leaders who made extraordinary contributions to the nation. Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan, Union Ministers J.P. Nadda and Union Ministers S. Jaishankar, Dharmendra Pradhan, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, Minister of State L. Murugan and family members of C. Rajagopalachari were present at the ceremony. President Murmu also graced the Rajaji Utsav at the Rashtrapati Bhavan's Cultural Centre, commemorating the life and legacy of C. Rajagopalachari. In her address, she said, visitors to Rashtrapati Bhavan will now be acquainted with Rajaji's enduring contributions to the nation.
मुझे ये देखकर खुशी होती है कि राष्ट्रपति भवन तथा इससे जुड़े शिमला, हैदराबाद और देहरादून में स्थित परिसरों में सबका स्वागत होता है। लोग घूमने आते हैं तथा भारतीय लोकतंत्र को परंपराओं से अवगत होते हैं। आप जो लोग राष्ट्रपति भवन देखने आएंगे, उन्हें राजा जी के योगदान से परिचित कराया जाएगा। भारतीय चेतना और समस्त भारतवासियों, विशेषकर कमजोर वर्गों के लोगों से जुड़ाव राजा जी के विचारों और कार्यों में दिखाई देता है।
Union Minister for Finance Nirmala Sitharaman addressed the Central Board of Directors of the Reserve Bank of India, along with Minister of State for Finance Shri M.P. Chaudhary and RBI Governor Shri Sanjay Malhotra at the customary post-budget meeting in New Delhi today. On the impact of the U.S. tariffs, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said it is too early to comment on the Indian economy, adding that the Commerce Ministry is reviewing the trade situation and the delegation will decide the timing of further negotiations.
On the Indian economy, I think it's a bit too soon for me to comment. But on the trade particularly, aside from the Indian economy in general, the Commerce Ministry is reviewing the situation. The delegation will have to take a call on when they're going to go for further negotiations. So it's a bit too early for me to comment.
And on the bullion market, the finance minister said that the situation remains under control, adding that the Reserve Bank of India is closely monitoring the prices of gold and silver, even as central banks globally continue to increase purchases, which could impact India as an importer.
So a high-pitched demand from, let us say, the domestic consumption also sees a seasonal spike during festival season, during Akshaya Tritiya and so on. We are watching it, but I'm not sure it has reached such alarming proportions given the tendency or natural things as it is in India for investing in gold, buying gold, and therefore I think it has not gone in that sense beyond a certain limit. But of course RBI will also be monitoring it.
Union Cooperation Minister Amit Shah interacted with Bharat Taxi drivers in New Delhi. In a video released today, the minister said that Bharat Taxi Cooperative is to empower the drivers by providing them the ownership of their work. He mentioned that the initiative focuses to curb the problems related to private taxi service companies and provide the profit to drivers and not the cooperative. India is fast emerging as a global force in artificial intelligence as a global AI talent hub. The just concluded India AI Impact Summit 2026 conveyed a powerful message, placing India's youth at the heart of the nation's artificial intelligence journey. India is positioning its young workforce at the center of AI innovation, accuracy and transparency.
With over 65% of its population under 35, India is leveraging its demographic dividend to build a future-ready AI workforce. AI-related job postings in South Asia have more than doubled in 2 years, with demand for AI skills growing 75% faster than other roles, signaling a major shift in the job market. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is confident that India AI Impact Summit will go a long way in boosting investments and create new opportunities for young innovators.
This will provide opportunity to our young men and women going forward. It's going to open up a flood of opportunities with more and more investments coming into this field, whether it's data centers, whether it's engaging with artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum computing, whether it's developing our own language models, LLMs, whether it's seeing how we can be at the forefront of applied AI, where we have significant talent and skills and strengths. Clearly, this week has set the stage for a very bright future for India.
The Union Budget 2026-27 has strengthened AI-focused skilling, especially in animation, gaming and digital content. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced an Education to Employment Committee to assess AI's impact on jobs in the services sector.
Emerging technologies including AI. 21st century is technology-driven. Adoption of technology is for the benefit of all people. Farmers in the field, women in STEM, youth keen to upskill, and Divyangjan to access newer opportunities. The government has taken several steps to support new technologies through AI Mission, National Quantum Mission, Anusandhan National Research Fund, and Research and Development and Innovation Fund.
Under the India AI mission, the government has allocated over 10,300 crore rupees to strengthen AI capabilities and expand compute capacity beyond the existing 38,000 GPUs. By democratizing access to compute, data sets, and model ecosystems, India is ensuring that AI opportunity is not confined to metropolitan hubs, but is accessible to aspiring talent nationwide. The planned expansion to over 58,000 GPUs reinforces a national commitment to inclusion, responsible innovation. AI learning is now embedded in schools under the National Education Policy 2020, while initiatives like Yuva AI for All aim to train 1 crore citizens in AI literacy. Premier institutions such as the Indian Institute of Technology and the Indian Institute of Science are expanding AI research, and startups across major cities are building global solutions. Youth innovation was a defining feature of the summit. More than 600 startups showcased AI-driven solutions across healthcare, agriculture, education, and manufacturing. The Yuva AI Global Youth Challenge received over 2,500 applications from 38 countries. Winners received grants of up to 15 lakh rupees. India's youth dividend is emerging as a defining strength in the age of artificial intelligence. As the country advances towards its Viksit Bharat vision, global benchmarks increasingly reflect India's growing AI capabilities. The India AI Impact Summit 2026 underscored how youth-led innovation, responsible AI adoption, and industry alignment are converging to drive inclusive and outcome-oriented growth. Aarti Rana for DD India.
Still to come on DD India Newshour. Afghanistan mourns villagers killed in the recent Pakistani strikes. We discuss the extensive escalation between the two Asian neighbors with our guest. A powerful winter storm triggers states of emergency across the U.S. East Coast.
Can the U.S. launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to West Asia again. Afghanistan has vowed to hit back after Pakistani strikes killed at least 18 people, including women and children. The country called the attacks a blatant violation of its sovereignty. The overnight attacks were the most extensive since border clashes in October last year. A report.
Afghanistan has vowed to retaliate against Pakistani airstrikes on Nangarhar and Paktika provinces at the right time.
The Ministry of National Defense considers the protection of the country's airspace and the security of its people to be its religious and national responsibility, and warns that at an appropriate time it will deliver an appropriate and calculated response.
Women and children were among at least 18 killed in the overnight strikes. Islamabad claimed it hit 7 sites along the border region targeting Afghanistan-based militant groups in response to suicide bombings in Pakistan. However, Afghan authorities and eyewitnesses said that the attacks targeted civilian areas.
This house belonged to a poor farmer named Sahabuddin. Pakistan jet planes came and bombed it, killing all the children and women. We call on the United Nations to bring Pakistan to justice and to ensure that it is brought before a court in accordance with the law.
The overnight attacks were the most extensive since border clashes in October last year, which left more than 70 dead on both sides and wounded hundreds. The strikes also come just days after Afghanistan released 3 Pakistani soldiers in a Saudi Arabia-mediated move to defuse tensions. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, India has strongly condemned Pakistan's airstrikes on Afghanistan, which resulted in civilian casualties during the holy month of Ramadan. In a statement, the Ministry of External Affairs said that the airstrikes are another attempt by Pakistan to externalize its internal failures. India also reiterated the support for Afghanistan's sovereignty. And former senior Indian diplomat Prabhu Dayal joins us on DD India Newshour now. Thank you, Prabhu Dayalji, for being with us. Always a pleasure to have you. Before we get into the Pakistan-Afghanistan situation as it exists today, can you give us a brief historical background of the relations between the two countries?
Well, first of all, Tanvi, thanks for having me on your show. You know, relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan have had a certain amount of tension always because of the Durand Light. There is this dispute about the 2,640-kilometer border, which was drawn by the British in 1893. And Afghanistan has never recognized it. The Taliban view it as an artificial colonial era line. Now, Pakistan's efforts to fence the border have triggered numerous fatal skirmishes. So that is the background of the overriding tension, which has continued since decades, right from the time that Pakistan was formed, and when the Afghans refused to recognize the borders, saying that Pakistan in its present form includes Afghan territory. So that is the background of the dispute. But then, this has now assumed very lethal dimensions. Tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan have escalated to a critical level recently and are marked by direct military strikes and a breakdown in diplomatic trust. Now, I mentioned to you about the Durand Line. In addition, there are some important factors which are very consequential. And the foremost amongst these are issues relating to the TTP, or the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Islamabad says that the TTP operates from safe havens in Afghanistan with the tacit support of the Afghan Taliban. But Kabul denies these claims, asserting that the TTP is Pakistan's internal security failure. There are so many security-related issues within Pakistan, then the TTP is a manifestation of these. There is a huge amount of discontent and open defiance of the military authorities because the military authorities suppress minorities, particularly the Pashtuns and the Balochis. Then, of course, there are issues which have come into the forefront relating to refugee deportations. Pakistan has been deporting millions of undocumented Afghans since the late 2023 or early 2024. And this has caused significant friction because Kabul has accused Islamabad of using these refugees as political blackmail. But let me also mention that the India factor is also something that has begun to hurt Pakistan. Recent diplomatic outreach between Afghanistan and India, including the upgrading of India's Kabul mission to an embassy status in October 2025, has unsettled Pakistan. It is very, very nervous about the growing ties between India and Afghanistan. So these are some of the factors which, in addition to the Durand Line issue, are impacting relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And let me mention that there have been several rounds of skirmishes, and in the most recent one, which just took place a couple of days ago, the Pakistan Air Force launched massive airstrikes in the Paktika and the Nangarhar provinces. Paktika is a southern province and Nangarhar is an eastern province. And these military attacks were carried out by Pakistan against what it said was 7 alleged militant camps belonging to the TTP, and also to the ISKP, which is the Islamic State of the Khorasan province. Now, Pakistan claimed to have killed 70 to 80 militants, but the Afghan government said that the people who were killed were really civilians, and they included women and children. So this is something that is becoming a very sore point in the relationship. And while Pakistan is saying that it is carrying out these strikes in response to the suicide attacks inside Pakistan, which are being carried out allegedly by the TTP, the Taliban government in Kabul is condemning the strikes as a blatant violation of sovereignty. And of course, it has warned of a befitting response. So I expect an escalation of the tensions in view of this background, and efforts to diffuse it will run into enormous difficulties.
Okay. How do you see the very large numbers of Afghans still living in Pakistan being affected by that country's hostility to Afghanistan?
Yes, of course. As I mentioned, Pakistan has been trying to forcibly deport
Evacuate. Yes.
Afghans. And in fact, there is a very, very strong approach with the Islamabad government, led by its military establishment, is taking against Afghan refugees. Now, the Afghan government says that the steps which are being taken by Pakistan are inhuman and that they are subjecting the Afghans to extreme cruelty. And this is also escalating the relationship tensions. And let me mention that while initially the Taliban was viewed by Pakistan as an ally, in fact, before the Taliban reassumed power in Kabul, when it was in exile and it was trying to dislodge the authorities in Kabul, Pakistan viewed it as an ally, and in fact, it assisted the Taliban. And then it began to think that with the Taliban now in power in Afghanistan, Pakistan will be able to do as it wants in Afghanistan, and it will be treating Afghan as its backwaters and whatever, its strategic depth. But things have turned out to be quite different because the Afghan authorities in Kabul have asserted independence, which has not been palatable to Islamabad, and it has begun to exert extreme cruelty and it has adopted lethal measures towards the Afghans living as refugees in Pakistan, and has also tried to say that the TTP has been given shelter inside Afghanistan and is using this as an excuse to bomb the border areas in Afghanistan, allegedly to take out the TTP bases, but in reality, killing civilians.
Okay, do you see any way out of the active hostilities between the two countries, perhaps with third-party mediation?
Third-party mediation has been going on. There have been multiple rounds of peace talks hosted by Qatar, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia since October last year. But these have failed to produce a lasting solution. Talks were last held in Istanbul in late 2025, but these broke down without any sort of agreement. Now, the negotiations frequently stall because Pakistan demands a written commitment from Kabul to take verifiable action against the TTP, which the Taliban refused to provide. Now, the resolution of the Pak-Afghan tensions appears highly unlikely in the near future. Despite all these rounds, and particularly involving international mediation and temporary ceasefires, the relationship has entered a cycle of deterrence and punishment. Now, there is a low probability of peace. A permanent solution, I think, is far out of reach because both nations hold staunch, opposing, nationalistic positions. So while an all-out conventional war may not take place, the current cycle of retributive strikes by Pakistan and countermeasures by Afghanistan could destabilize the entire region.
One hopes that this cycle of, as you say, deterrence and punishment comes at least near to peace, if not to peace, but both sides need to talk to come to that level. Thank you very much, Prabhu Dayalji, for explaining to us in greater detail the tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan at the moment.
Thank you.
Moving on now, U.S. Secret Service agents fatally shot a man armed with a shotgun who breached the security perimeter of President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida in the early hours of Sunday morning. Trump, who is currently in Washington, was not at the site at the time. The man in Sunday's incident was identified as Austin Tucker Martin from North Carolina. He was reported missing within the last few days. In 2024, a gunman's bullet grazed Trump's ear during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania, and a man later convicted of attempted assassination was spotted hiding in the bushes of a Florida golf course with a semi-automatic rifle while Trump was on course. In September last year, right-wing influencer and staunch Trump ally Charlie Kirk was shot dead during an event at a university in Utah. Law enforcement officials did not reveal any information about the motive for the incident, and the FBI took over the investigation and is collecting evidence from the scene.
The security detail detected that an individual had made his way into the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. A deputy and 2 Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those 2 pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the 2 Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat. He is deceased at the scene.
And now, next updates on EU's sanctions against Russia. Hungary has said that it will block the European Union's next package of sanctions against Moscow, the latest step aimed at pushing Ukraine to resume the flow of Russian oil through a pipeline supplying Hungarian refineries. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban announced 3 countermeasures in response to Ukraine's suspension of crude oil deliveries through the Druzhba pipeline. Orban stressed that Hungary would maintain its economic and social stability and take further actions if necessary. Meanwhile, ahead of the EU Foreign Affairs Ministers' meeting in Brussels, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said that EU countries will likely not reach an agreement on the proposed new package of sanctions against Russia on Monday. On the weather front now, a powerful winter storm is bearing down on the east coast of the United States, prompting widespread blizzard warnings and states of emergency from Washington to Maine. Major cities, including New York, Boston and Philadelphia, are shutting down transportation networks, closing schools and urging residents to stay off the roads, as forecasters warn of up to 2 feet of snow in some areas.
Satellite imagery captured the winter storm's movement across the east coast of the United States on Sunday, making it apparently evident the sheer scale of the upcoming weather phenomena. Blizzard warnings were issued for the New York City and parts of New Jersey and Connecticut as the major storm was forecast to hit a large swath of the east coast. New York Mayor Mamdani ordered the shutdown of the city's entire traffic network for all but emergency travel. Tens of millions of Americans from the U.S. capital Washington to the northern state of Maine prepared for up to 2 feet of snow forecast in some areas. Streets, highways and bridges will remain closed until noon Monday under a state of emergency, with residents urged to avoid non-essential travel. States of emergency and travel restrictions were also declared in Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey and Rhode Island, alongside similar measures in New York. New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill declared a state of emergency, freeing up funds and allowing the swift deployment of resources to address the weather crisis. Boston has closed all public schools and municipal buildings on Monday. Snow continued to fall across Philadelphia on Sunday, covering landmarks like Independence Hall and the city center area. The storm comes just weeks after the region recovered from another devastating winter weather system that was linked to more than 100 deaths. Bureau Report, GD India.
The European Commission demanded on Sunday that the United States stick to the terms of the EU-US trade deal reached last year after the US Supreme Court struck down Donald Trump's global tariffs and he responded with new levies across the board. The European Commission said Washington must provide full clarity on the steps it intends to take following the court ruling. In the joint statement setting out the terms of last year's trade agreement, the Commission said a deal is a deal. EU Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic had discussed the issue with US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on Saturday. After the court struck down Trump's global tariffs on Friday, the US President announced temporary across-the-board tariffs of 10%, which he then hiked to 15% a day later. The BAFTA Film Awards have delivered major wins and a few surprises. setting the stage for an intense Oscars race ahead. India too has a reason to celebrate, with a regional film bringing home a top honour. Manipuri language film Boong has bagged the Best Children's and Family Film at the event. So from sweeping victories to unexpected upsets, the night belonged to bold storytelling. DD India's Diptanshu Kashyap reports.
India made its presence felt on the global stage at the BAFTA Film Awards in London, England. The Manipuri language film Boong, directed by Lakshmi Priya Devi, won Best Children's and Family Film, marking a proud moment for Indian regional cinema. Meanwhile, American filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson and his latest comedy thriller, One Battle After Another, continued their award season dominance, sweeping 6 trophies, including Best Film, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Sean Penn. The vampire thriller Sinners picked up 3 major wins: Best Original Screenplay for director Ryan Coogler, Best Supporting Actress for Wunmi Mosaku, and Best Original Score for Ludwig Göransson. The period drama Hamnet was named Outstanding British Film, with Jessie Buckley winning Best Actress. The biggest surprise of the night came in the Best Actor category, where Robert Aramayo triumphed for his role in I Swear, beating award season favourite Timothée Chalamet. In the international race, Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value won Best Film Not in the English Language. Technical honours were shared by films including Frankenstein and F1. It was a night of big wins, unexpected turns, and global storytelling taking centre stage, further intensifying the Oscars race. Diptanshu Kashyap for DD India.
The Indian Air Force's premier firepower demonstration at Vayu Shakti 2026 will take place in Pokhran, Rajasthan on 27th of February. Held at the Pokhran Air-to-Ground Range in Jaisalmer, Rajasthan, this massive exercise serves as a public display of the Indian Air Force's combat readiness, precision striking capabilities, and its role as India's first responder in any conflict scenario. Vishal Barrister has more.
After Operation Sindoor, Indian Air Force would be showcasing its firepower in exercise Vayu Shakti on the Western Front. To find out more, I have with me the spokesperson of the Indian Air Force Wing Commander Jaideep Singh. Let's find out.
This year in exercise Vayu Shakti 2026, it's also a firepower demonstration. What we are going to do is showcase the Indian Air Force capability to win future wars, and also to demonstrate the capability that works as a deterrent towards our inimical entities which are there, which are working against. We're also highlighting the seamless integration of our sensors, in which IACCS is the hub, and integration with the other sensors which are there, that is sensors and systems. Apart from that, what we are going to do is showcase the primacy of air power in delivering long-range vectors through precision targeting, although it will be demonstrated. And thereafter we will also highlight the successes, and we'll try to showcase how Operation Sindoor had taken place.
Could you run us through what are the aircrafts that would be flying in exercise Vayu Shakti?
So aircraft are there to cause an effect. So what we are going to do is we are firing close to about 277 weapons, and with about 12,000 kilo of explosive which is planned. In all, approximately 128 aircraft will be there, out of which about 77 fighters, 43 helicopters and 8 transport will be there. Apart from that, we will have our RPAs, our what we'll also showcase is our COS, how we take on the unmanned aerial system or counter unmanned aerial system which is there. We have our meets, and also the surface to air guided weapons, how they are forming an invisible shield against the enemy vectors.
When we talk about surface to air missiles and all, could you name some of them?
So Akash will be there and Spider will be there in surface to air guided weapons. We'll be targeting a simulated target and actual firing of the weapons.
So there you heard the Air Force PRO. This year's Vayu Shakti is going to be very, very special, and why not? The Air Force had played a decisive role in Operation Sindoor. With cameraman Saurabh Bakshi in Delhi, this is Vishal Barrister for DD India.
Staying in Asia, at least 17 people, including 2 foreigners, died in a bus accident near Choronde in Benighat Rorang rural municipality of Dharding along the Prithvi highway on Monday. The Kathmandu-bound bus from Pokhara had plunged into the Trishuli river. Among the deceased include 11 men and 2 women. As many as 44 passengers were on the bus. Some 26 injured were rescued and sent to various hospitals for immediate treatment. The rescue operation has been completed at the accident site with the help of personnel from all the 3 security agencies along with the locals. The bus had departed from Pokhara with 34 passengers aboard on Sunday and met with an accident in Dharding on way to Kathmandu. And time now for some sporting updates. The second leg of the 2026 Khelo India Winter Games was inaugurated in Gulmarg with Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, formally opening the event on Sunday. Along with Lieutenant Governor Sinha, Sports Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Satish Sharma, and other dignitaries attended the event. During the ceremony, various events were held, including a torch ski display and several cultural programs. A drone show, laser show and other performances were also presented. The torch ski event was formally inaugurated by Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha. The tournament kicked off with nearly 400 athletes competing for glory. Gulmarg features 4 medal disciplines, namely ski mountaineering, alpine skiing, Nordic skiing and snowboarding from February 23rd to 26th. The first leg of the games was held in Leh from 20th to 26th of January this year. And that is all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.